A universe where humans are the new kids on the galactic block, stumbling around like toddlers at a cocktail party. Now, throw in a bunch of well-meaning, but oh-so-naive aliens who decide it's a great idea to teach these bumbling bipes the art of alien ass-kicking. What could possibly go wrong? Spoiler alert, everything. Our tale begins on the bustling space station Nexus 9, a melting pot of species from across the cosmos. It's here that humanity's diplomatic corps decided to set up shop, figuring it was high time we joined the interstellar community. You know, make some friends, learn the ropes, maybe pick up a few neat tricks along the way. Oh, if only they knew. Enter Ambassador Zara Chen, Earth's newly appointed representative to the Galactic Council. Picture a woman in her mid-30s with a sharp mind, sharper wit, and the patience of a saint, a quality she'd need in spades for what was about to unfold. As Zara stepped off the transport ship, her eyes widened at the sight before her. Nexus 9 was a riot of color and sound, with beings of every conceivable shape and size bustling about. Some floated, some slithered, some had more appendages than she could count. And was that one communicating through interpretive dance? Well, she muttered to herself, Dorothy, we're definitely not in Kansas anymore. A nearby alien, a towering, gelatinous mass with what appeared to be eye stalks, turned to her and burbled something that sounded suspiciously like a laugh. Oh great, Zara sighed. I haven't even been here 5 minutes and I'm already the butt of alien jokes. As she made her way through the crowded corridors, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. And not in the old look, a new species, how fascinating way, but more in the fresh meat boys way. She was about to find out why. Rounding a corner, she quite literally ran into her welcoming committee. A group of aliens that looked like someone had crossbred a praying mantis with a bodybuilder, and then decided to paint the result neon green. Ambassador Chen, the lead alien, chittered excitedly, mandibles clacking. We are most pleased to greet you. I am 6 tall, your liaison to the Galactic Council. Zara, still recovering from the collision, managed a weak smile. Charmed, I'm sure. I don't suppose you could point me towards the human quarter. I'm in desperate need of a coffee and a lie down. 6 tall's compound eyes gleamed with what Zara would later learn was mischief. Of course. But first, we have a small, welcoming ritual to perform. Now, if Zara had been a bit less jet-lagged, or would that be void-lagged, she might have noticed the way the other aliens were subtly positioning themselves around her. As it was, she was too busy wondering if Nexus 9 had a Starbucks to notice the impending danger. Ritual, she asked absently. I hope it doesn't involve probing. I've heard stories, you know. 6 tall's mandibles twitched in what might have been a smile. Oh no, nothing so crude. We simply wish to assess your species' physical capabilities. A friendly sparring match, if you will. Zara's brain finally caught up with the situation. I'm sorry, what? Sparring? Look, I'm a diplomat, not a boxer. The only thing I spar with is my coffee maker in the morning. But it was too late. The circle of aliens had closed in, and 6 tall was already assuming what Zara could only assume was a fighting stance. If praying mantises did kung fu, this is what it would look like. Now then, Ambassador 6 tall chirped, show us what humans are made of. What followed was less a sparring match and more a cosmic game of tag, with Zara as the unwilling it. She ducked, she weaved, she may have even squealed a bit, though she'd deny it later. Her years of yoga and that one self-defense class she took in college were proving woefully inadequate against aliens who apparently considered this a light workout. As she narrowly avoided a swipe from 6 tall's mantis-like arms, Zara couldn't help but laugh hysterically. Is this how you greet all new species, she gasped, or am I just special? 6 tall, not even slightly out of breath, responded cheerfully. Oh no, Ambassador, we found this to be the most efficient way to gauge a species' potential. You're doing quite well, by the way. Glad to hear it, Zara panted, diving between the legs of a particularly large alien. I'd hate to think this was me doing poorly. Just as Zara was considering whether diplomatic immunity covered breaking alien kneecaps, did they even have kneecaps? A booming voice echoed through the corridor. What in the name of the 7 moons of Exiloxi is going on here? Everyone froze. Zara, in mid-duck, lost her balance and fell flat on her backside. Looking up, she saw what could only be described as a walking, talking redwood tree. If redwood trees wore ornate robes and had a face that looked like it was carved by a drunken lumberjack. 6 tall, suddenly looking a lot less confident, chittered nervously. Hi, Counselor Arboros. We were just welcoming the new human ambassador. Arboros' bark-like face creased into what might have been a frown. By chasing her around like a pack of Zorgax hounds, I thought we agreed to stop these assessments after the incident with the Flrbians. Zara, still on the floor, raised a hand. Excuse me, but what incident with the Flrbians? Arboros sighed, a sound like rustling leaves. Let's just say it took weeks to get them off the ceiling. Now then, Ambassador Chen, allow me to officially welcome you to Nexus 9. I apologize for this unorthodox greeting. As Zara was helped to her feet by what appeared to be actual helping hands growing out of Arboros' trunk, She couldn't help but chuckle. Well, High Counselor, I have to say this is certainly one for the memoirs, though I might leave out the part where I nearly wet myself. Arboros' face creaked into what might have been a smile. I think you'll fit in just fine here, Ambassador. Now, let's get you settled in your quarters. I believe you mentioned something about coffee. As they walked away, Zara could hear Six Tall and his gang being thoroughly dressed down by Arboros. She almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Little did any of them know, this welcoming ritual was about to set in motion a chain of events that would change the face of galactic martial arts forever. But more on that later. First, coffee. 6 months into her posting on Nexus 9, Zara had more or less gotten used to the daily insanity that came with being Earth's ambassador to the stars. She'd navigated interstellar trade agreements, prevented at least 3 diplomatic incidents, 2 of which she may or may not have caused herself, and had even managed to introduce the concept of karaoke to the Galactic Council. The less said about that last one, the better. But today, as she sat in her office staring at the holographic message floating above her desk, she couldn't help but feel like she was in way over her head. They want to what now, she asked her assistant, a charming little robot named BIMP, Basic Interactive Message Processor, though Zara suspected it stood for Bane of Interstellar Miscommunication and Paperwork. BMP's screen flickered with what Zara had come to recognize as its version of a shrug. According to the message, the Galactic Council has decided to initiate a cultural exchange program. Specifically, they want to teach human representatives various forms of alien martial arts. Zara pinched the bridge of her nose, feeling a headache coming on. And why, pray tell, do they think this is a good idea? The stated reasons are to promote interspecies understanding, to provide humans with means of self-defense in potentially hostile environments, and I quote, to see what happens. To see what happens, Zara repeated flatly. Fantastic. Because that's exactly what you want to hear when it comes to teaching an emerging species how to fight like space ninjas. She leaned back in her chair, memories of her own welcoming ritual flashing through her mind. You know, Bimp, I can't help but feel like this is somehow my fault. Bimp's screen displayed a series of question marks. I fail to see how, Ambassador. You've been nothing but a model diplomat since your arrival. Zara snorted. Model diplomat. I once accidentally declared war on the Flrbians because I sneezed during a formal dinner. To be fair, Ambassador, in Flrbian culture, a sneeze is considered a declaration of utmost hostility, and you did manage to smooth things over with that impromptu tap dance routine. Don't remind me, Zara groaned. I still have nightmares about those tentacles trying to keep rhythm. She stood up, pacing around her office. The walls were adorned with a mix of Earth art and alien artifacts, a visual representation of the bridge she was trying to build between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. And now, apparently, that bridge was going to be made of roundhouse kicks and alien judo throws. All right, Bimp, let's think this through. What's the worst that could happen if we agree to this cultural exchange? Bimp's processor whirred as it calculated the possibilities. Based on my analysis of human history and behavior, potential outcomes range from mild interstellar embarrassment to accidental conquest of 3-star systems. Zara stopped pacing. I'm sorry, did you say accidental conquest? Humans have a history of, let's call it enthusiastic adaptation when it comes to martial techniques, Ambassador. Combine that with your species' natural competitiveness and physical resilience and we end up with a bunch of humans running around the galaxy crane-kicking aliens into next week, Zara finished, slumping back into her chair. That is one possible scenario, yes. Zara stared at the ceiling, wondering for the umpteenth time why she had ever thought this job would be a good idea. She could have been a nice, boring accountant, or maybe a llama farmer. Llamas were nice. Llamas didn't try to teach you how to dislocate someone's spine with your pinky finger. You know what the real kicker is, Bimp, she said, still addressing the ceiling. I bet you anything this was Six Tall's idea. He's probably still sore about getting chewed out by Arboros after my welcoming ritual. Bimp's screen displayed a smiley face. Actually, Ambassador, according to the metadata in the message, the proposal was indeed initiated by Representative Six Tall. Zara sat up so fast she nearly gave herself whiplash. Are you kidding me? That overgrown grasshopper is behind this. Affirmative. Though I believe the correct term is overgrown mantis, Ambassador. Not helping, Bimp. Zara drummed her fingers on her desk, a plan already forming in her mind. All right, if that's how they want to play it, then game on. Send a message back to the council. Tell them Earth graciously accepts their offer of cultural exchange. Bimp's screen flickered in surprise. Are you sure that's wise, Ambassador? Given the potential risks, Zara waved a hand dismissively. Oh, I'm counting on those risks, Bimp. You see, our friend Zixtal thinks he's being clever, but he's forgotten one very important thing about humans. And what's that, Ambassador? Zara's grin was positively predatory. We don't just learn, we innovate. Now get me everything we have on alien physiology and their martial arts. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. As Bimp scurried off to compile the requested information, Zara couldn't help but chuckle. The galaxy thought they were going to teach humans a lesson? Oh, they had no idea what they were in for. All right, Universe, she muttered, cracking her knuckles. Let's dance. The next few months on Nexus 9 were interesting to say the least. The cultural exchange program, dubbed Operation Cosmic Dojo by some wag in the Earth delegation Zara suspected it was Jenkins from accounting. He always did have a flair for the dramatic, was in full swing. Humans from various backgrounds, military personnel, athletes, martial artists, and even a few civilians who had won a highly questionable lottery, arrived on the station ready to learn the ways of alien combat. The other species, still blissfully unaware of the potential consequences of their actions, were all too eager to share their martial knowledge. Zara watched it all unfold with a mix of amusement and trepidation. She'd set up an observation room where she could monitor the training sessions, partly out of curiosity and partly to make sure no one accidentally started an interstellar incident. Again. "Bimp," she called out one day, not taking her eyes off the screen showing various training rooms. "Remind me again why I thought this was a good idea." The little robot whirred to her side. "You said," and I quote, "if we're going to make fools of ourselves, we might as well do it spectacularly," end quote. Zara nodded sagely. "Ah yes, the cornerstone of all great diplomatic endeavors." On one screen, she could see a group of humans trying to master the art of Flrbian tentacle-fu. It was like watching a group of octopi having a seizure if octopi wore sweatpants and kept shouting, "Dude, I think I've got it," every 5 seconds. Another screen showed the Zorgax hounds, the same ones Arboros had compared Six Tal's gang to during Zara's welcoming ritual, teaching humans their unique style of combat. It mostly seemed to involve a lot of growling, pouncing, and what Zara could only describe as aggressive butt sniffing. She made a mental note to increase the station's supply of air fresheners, but it was the third screen that really caught her attention. There, in a room that looked like it had been modeled after a Zen garden if Zen gardens had gravity generators and holograms, was Six Tal himself, teaching a group of humans the finer points of Mantoid martial arts. Zara leaned in closer, her eyes narrowing. "Bimp, zoom in on training room C for me, would you?" The image enlarged, giving Zara a clear view of the proceedings. Six Tal was demonstrating a move that looked like a cross between a praying mantis strike and a ballerina's pirouette. The humans were watching with rapt attention, their faces a mix of confusion, determination, and what Zara recognized as the universal human expression for "I bet I could do that, but better." "Oh, Six Tal," Zara murmured, shaking her head. "You have no idea what you've started, do you?" As if on cue, one of the humans, a burly woman Zara recognized as Sergeant Maria Rodriguez from Earth's Marine Corps, stepped forward to try the move. What followed was a display that could only be described as enthusiastically catastrophic. Rodriguez spun, struck, and somehow managed to not only execute the move but add in what looked a banezika, but suspiciously like a breakdancing move at the end. Six Tal's mandibles dropped in what Zara assumed was the Mantoid equivalent of a jaw hitting the floor. "Bimp," Zara said, not even trying to hide her grin, "please tell me you're recording all of this." "Of course, Ambassador. I've been archiving all." "Of course, Ambassador. I've been archiving all training sessions as per your instructions, Bimp or so." "Excellent," Zara said, rubbing her hands together like a cartoon villain. "I have a feeling we're going to want to review these later. For purely diplomatic reasons, of course." "Of course," Ambassador Bimp agreed, in a tone that suggested it didn't believe her for a second. Over the next few weeks, Zara watched with a mixture of pride, amusement, and increasing alarm as the humans in the program began to not just learn, but innovate on the alien martial arts they were being taught. The Flrbian tentacle-fu practitioners were soon incorporating elements of capoeira and breakdancing into their routines, creating a style that looked like a cross between an octopus rave and a Cirque du Soleil performance. They called it Tentacle Boogie, much to the Flrbians' confusion and grudging admiration. The Zorgax hound style, meanwhile, had been merged with parkour to create what the humans were calling urban howl. Zara had to admit, watching a group of humans leaping across the station's architecture while growling and occasionally stopping to sniff things was an experience. But it was the Mantoid martial arts that really took off. Sergeant Rodriguez and her fellow trainees had taken Six Tal's teachings and run with them, quite literally. They'd combined the precise strikes and fluid movements of the Mantoid style with elements of mixed martial arts, gymnastics, and what Zara strongly suspected was inspiration from old kung fu movies. The result was a hybrid style that the humans had dubbed Praying Mantis Fist of Fury Pimp for short. It was fast, it was unpredictable, and it was giving Six Tal an eye twitch, literally. Zara didn't even know Mantoids could get eye twitches. "Bimp," Zara said one day, watching as Rodriguez performed a move that involved 3 backflips, a spinning kick, and what looked like jazz hands. "I think we might have created a monster." "I believe the correct term is innovated," Ambassador Bimp replied. "After all, isn't that what you intended?" Zara sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Yes, but I didn't expect them to take it quite this far. Did you see what happened in the cafeteria yesterday?" Bimp's screen flickered with what might have been a wince. "You mean the Great Spaghetti Incident?" "Yes. I have that archived as well. The cleanup crew is still finding noodles in unexpected places." The Great Spaghetti Incident, as it had come to be known, was the result of an impromptu demonstration of PIMF by one of the human trainees. It had involved a food tray, 3 different species of alien, and enough flying pasta to make an Italian grandmother weep. The only reason it hadn't caused a diplomatic incident was that most of the aliens involved had been too busy laughing to be offended. Right, Zara said, straightening her jacket. I think it's time we had a little chat with our friends in the Galactic Council. BIMP, arrange a meeting for tomorrow morning, and maybe prepare a highlight reel of our progress so far. BNP's screen displayed a question mark. Are you sure that's wise, Ambassador? The footage might be seen as provocative. Zara's grin was downright mischievous. Oh, I'm counting on it. It's time the council saw exactly what they've unleashed. Besides, she added, watching as on screen, a human trainee successfully used a pimp move to disarm a Zorgax hound in a practice bout. I think we might have stumbled onto something here. The next morning, Zara stood before the Galactic Council, trying very hard to keep a straight face. The council members, representing species from across the galaxy, looked back at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to concern to what she was pretty sure was indigestion, though with the Flrbians, it was hard to tell. High Counselor Arboros, looking as imposing as ever in his ornate robes, spoke first. Ambassador Chen, you've called this meeting to discuss the progress of the cultural exchange program. I trust everything is proceeding smoothly. Zara cleared her throat. Oh, things are proceeding all right, High Counselor. In fact, I'd say they're proceeding at a pace that can only be described as alarmingly enthusiastic, but perhaps it's better if I show you. BIMP, if you would. At her signal, BIMP projected a holographic display in the center of the council chamber. What followed was 5 minutes of what could only be described as martial arts chaos. Humans flipping, spinning, and generally defying the laws of physics as they combined alien techniques with Earth martial arts in ways that made Newton roll in his grave. The council watched in stunned silence as the highlight reel played out before them. Zara carefully observed their reactions, paying particular attention to Zixtal, who looked like he was having an existential crisis with each new clip. As the final image faded, a slow-motion shot of Sergeant Rodriguez performing a move that somehow combined a Mantoid strike, a capoeira kick, and what Zara was pretty sure was the robot. Zara cleared her throat again. So, esteemed members of the council, she said, her voice dripping with faux innocence, how would you say the cultural exchange is going? The silence that followed was so profound that Zara could have sworn she heard the distant sound of a pin dropping somewhere on the lower levels of the station. Finally, Arboros spoke, his voice a mix of awe and trepidation. Ambassador Chen, when we proposed this exchange, we had no idea that humans would take your martial arts and turn them into a galactic Cirque du Soleil. Zara finished for him. Yeah, we tend to do that. You give us an inch, we take a light year. It's kind of our thing. Zixtal, who had been uncharacteristically quiet until now, suddenly burst out, but that's not how it's supposed to work. The Mantoid arts are about precision, about control. Zara turned to him, her eyebrow raised. Oh, and here I thought they were about assessing our species' physical capabilities. Isn't that what you said during my welcoming ritual, Zixtal? The Mantoid had the good grace to look embarrassed, his antennae drooping slightly. The thing is, Zara continued, addressing the entire council, humans don't just learn. We adapt, we innovate, and sometimes we completely restructure things in ways that make the original creators question their life choices. It's a gift, really. A sometimes terrifying, often confusing gift. She gestured to the space where the holographic display had been. What you've just witnessed is the birth of something new. A fusion of Earth and alien martial arts that, quite frankly, I'm not sure the galaxy is ready for. But here's the thing. It's happening whether we're ready or not. Arboros leaned forward, his bark-like face creased in thought. What are you suggesting, Ambassador? Zara smiled. And if the council members had been more familiar with human expressions, they might have recognized it as the smile of someone about to flip the script entirely. I'm suggesting, High Counselor, that we take this cultural exchange to the next level. Instead of just teaching humans alien martial arts, why don't we open it up? Let's create a true intergalactic martial arts program. Humans learning from aliens, aliens learning from humans, everyone learning from everyone. She paused for effect, looking each council member in the eye or eye equivalent. After all, if we're going to create a new form of galactic chaos, we might as well do it together, right? The council chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices, some excited, some apprehensive, all of them loud. Zara stood in the center of it all, feeling rather pleased with herself. She caught Zixtal's eye and winked at him, causing the Mantoid to make a sound that was somewhere between a chirp and a groan. As the council debated the merits and potential disasters of Zara's proposal, she couldn't help but think that this was exactly why she had taken this job. The chaos, the unpredictability, the sheer absurdity of it all, this was diplomacy at its finest. And if, in the process, humanity managed to turn the galaxy's martial arts scene into something resembling a cosmic dance-off, well, that was just a bonus. 6 months later, Nexus 9 had been officially dubbed the Intergalactic Center for Martial Arts and Cultural Exchange, or ICMACE for short. The station had been expanded to accommodate the influx of beings from across the galaxy, all eager to learn and share their martial arts knowledge. Zara stood in her office, looking out at the bustling station through her viewport. The place was a riot of activity, with beings of all shapes and sizes hurrying to and fro, many of them sporting training gear that looked like it had been designed by a committee of mad scientists and fashion designers with a questionable grasp on the concept of practicality. "Well, Bim," she said to her faithful robotic assistant, "I think it's safe to say we've created something unique here." BIMP's screen displayed a graph showing the station's increased activity levels. "Indeed, Ambassador. Nexus 9's popularity as a destination has increased by 500% since the implementation of ICMAS. We've also seen a 300% increase in requests for ice packs and a 750% increase in the consumption of energy drinks across all species." Zara chuckled. "I'm not sure whether to be proud or terrified, maybe a bit of both." A knock at her office door interrupted her musings. "Come in," she called out. The door slid open to reveal Six Tall, looking somewhat frazzled. His normally pristine exoskeleton was scuffed in places, and one of his antennae was slightly bent. "Ambassador Chen," he chittered, mandibles clicking rapidly in what Zara had come to recognize as agitation. "We need to talk." Zara gestured to a chair specially designed to accommodate Mantoid physiology. "Have a seat, Six Tall. You look like you've been through the ringer. Tough class." Six Tall practically collapsed into the chair. "You have no idea. The humans in my advanced class have started incorporating something they call capoeira into the Mantoid forms. It's beautiful chaos," Zara supplied helpfully. "A nightmare," Six Tall finished. "Beautiful, yes, but also terrifying. Just yesterday, one of my students performed a move that I'm pretty sure violated at least 3 laws of physics." Zara leaned back in her chair, trying very hard not to look too amused. "I thought that was the point of all this. Cultural exchange, pushing boundaries, that sort of thing." Six Tall's compound eyes narrowed. "Don't play innocent with me, Ambassador. We both know this has gone far beyond what anyone expected. The Flrbians are teaching a class that combines their tentacle-fu with something called breakdancing. The Zorgax hounds are howling N beats while demonstrating their techniques. And don't even get me started on what the humans have done with Flrbian martial arts." "Ah, yes. The gelatinous groove," Zara nodded sagely. "I heard it's quite popular in the lower rings of the station." Six Tall made a sound that Zara could only interpret as the Mantoid equivalent of a long-suffering sigh. "Ambassador, when I suggested this cultural exchange program, I had no idea it would lead to this." Zara leaned forward, her expression softening slightly. "I know, Six Tall. None of us did. But you have to admit it's been quite the ride, hasn't it?" The Mantoid was quiet for a moment, his antennae twitching thoughtfully. "I suppose it has," he finally admitted. It's not what I expected." "Welcome to Diplomacy with Humans," Zara grinned. "We specialize in the unexpected. Now what do you say we head down to the main training hall? I hear Sergeant Rodriguez is giving a demonstration of her new style. Something about combining pimp with Tibetan monk." "Welcome to Diplomacy with Humans," Zara grinned. "We specialize in the unexpected. Now what do you say we head down to the main training hall? I hear Sergeant Rodriguez is giving a demonstration of her new style. Something about combining pimp with Tibetan monk techniques and interpretive dance, I think." Six Tall's mandibles clicked rapidly in what Zara had come to recognize as a mix of exasperation and curiosity. "I suppose I should see this for myself. For purely academic reasons, of course." "Of course," Zara agreed, her tone suggesting she didn't believe him for a second. "Bimp, hold my calls. We're going to see some art in motion." As they made their way through the bustling corridors of Nexus 9, Zara couldn't help but marvel at how much had changed in such a short time. The station, once a staid diplomatic outpost, now thrummed with an energy that was almost tangible. Beings of all species mingled freely, chattering excitedly about the latest fusion styles and upcoming demonstrations. They passed a group of Flrbians attempting to teach a class on what appeared to be zero-gravity gujitsu to a very confused-looking group of humans and Zorgax hounds. In another corner, a human teenager was patiently explaining the finer points of dab defense to a cluster of fascinated alien youngsters. "You know," Zara mused as they walked, "when I first arrived here, I never imagined this is where we'd end up. A galactic martial arts melting pot? It's like something out of a fever dream." Six Tall chittered softly. "I must admit, Ambassador, when I proposed the initial cultural exchange, my intentions were not entirely altruistic." Zara raised an eyebrow. "Oh, do tell." The Mantoid had the grace to look embarrassed, his antennae drooping slightly. That is, some of us on the council, we thought that by introducing humans to our martial arts we could better understand your capabilities, perhaps even find ways to control your species' more unpredictable tendencies." Zara stopped walking, turning to face Six Tall fully. For a moment her diplomatic mask slipped, and the Mantoid caught a glimpse of the steel beneath. "That was a dangerous game you were playing, Six Tall." "I realize that now," Six Tall said quietly. "We grossly underestimated humanity's capacity for adaptation and innovation. And perhaps we were a little afraid." Zara's expression softened. "Afraid of us?" Six Tall's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You have to understand, Ambassador. Humans are, well, you're terrifying. Your species went from discovering fire to landing on your moon in the blink of an eye, cosmically speaking. You're adaptable, resilient, and frankly a little crazy. We thought by teaching you our ways we could make you more predictable. Zara couldn't help it. She burst out laughing, the sound echoing through the corridor and causing several passing aliens to turn and stare. "Oh, 6 tall," she gasped between chuckles. "If there's one thing you should know about humans, it's that we're anything but predictable." The Mantoid's compound eyes seemed to crinkle in what Zara had come to recognize as amusement. "Yes, I believe we're all coming to that realization rather quickly." They resumed walking, the sounds of cheering and rhythmic thumping growing louder as they approached the main training hall. "You know," Zara said thoughtfully, "maybe this whole thing worked out for the best. Sure, it's not what any of us expected, but look around. Different species learning from each other, creating new things together. Isn't that what the Galactic Council is all about?" 6 tall was quiet for a moment, his antennae twitching thoughtfully. "Perhaps you're right, Ambassador. It's certainly not the outcome we anticipated, but it's intriguing. And I must admit, some of these new styles are quite impressive." They reached the entrance to the main training hall, the doors sliding open to reveal a scene of controlled chaos. In the center of the room, Sergeant Rodriguez was leading a group through a series of moves that seemed to defy both gravity and logic. Her body flowed like water, then snapped into razor-sharp Mantoid strikes, all while maintaining a rhythm that had the entire audience bobbing their heads or head equivalents. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all designations," Rodriguez called out, her voice carrying over the thumping beat. "This is what we call the cosmic rhythm rumble, a little bit of Earth, a little bit of Mantoid, a sprinkle of Tibetan wisdom, and a whole lot of groove. Now, who wants to try?" The crowd surged forward eagerly, beings of all shapes and sizes jostling to participate. Zara watched as a Flrbian attempted to mimic Rodriguez's fluid movements, its tentacles waving in a way that was both hilarious and strangely graceful. "Well," Zara said, turning to 6 tall with a grin, "shall we join in? I bet those Mantoid reflexes of yours would be great for the robot." 6 tall's mandibles clicked rapidly in what Zara now recognized as laughter. "Ambassador, I believe you've done more for intergalactic relations with this project than 1,000 diplomatic meetings could have achieved." Zara shrugged, already moving to the edge of the training area. "What can I say? Humans have a knack for bringing people together. Sometimes it's through diplomacy, sometimes it's through shared scientific goals, and sometimes," she gestured to the joyful chaos around them, "it's through the universal language of kicking butt and looking good doing it." As they joined the throng of beings all attempting to master the cosmic rhythm rumble, Zara couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Sure, this wasn't what anyone had expected when they'd started the cultural exchange program. It was messy, it was chaotic, and it probably violated a few laws of physics. But it was also beautiful, in its own weird way. Beings from across the galaxy, learning and growing together, creating something entirely new in the process. If this was humanity's contribution to the galactic community, well, Zara thought they could do a lot worse. "Hey 6 tall," she called out, attempting a move that was part Mantoid strike, part moonwalk. "I think this might be the start of a beautiful friendship." The Mantoid, currently tangled in his own limbs, as he attempted to pop and lock, merely clicked his mandibles in what Zara chose to interpret as agreement. As the beat dropped and the entire room erupted into a multi-species dance-off/martial arts demonstration, Zara couldn't help but laugh. This, she thought, was diplomacy at its finest. A little bit messy, a little bit ridiculous, but bringing people together in ways no one could have predicted. In the grand scheme of things, maybe teaching humans alien martial arts hadn't gone quite as planned. But as she watched a Zorgak's hound attempting to breakdance while a Flrbian tried to teach a human the finer points of gelatinous self-defense, Zara knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would never be the same again. And honestly, she wouldn't have it any other way.